Pew pew! The Pokemon Crowth Zenith set is underrated, and we're going to talk about it. Let's go. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Pokemon Buyers Club. My name is Gray, and I buy cardboard. And today, we're going to take a look at the Crowth Zenith set through the lens of collectors and investors, and we're going to analyze the actual product design to inform how we want to spend our hard-earned money on this set and whether we should. See, Crowth Zenith is a fascinating set. It is essentially the English version of V-Star Universe, which was released in Japan, but as the final set in the Sword and Shield era, it actually includes a number of additional cards that were previously Japanese exclusives, and on top of that, as many English sets do, several of the cards have been pulled from the V-Star Universe set in order to release as promos in a variety of other products released by the Pokemon Company internationally. The question is the set still any good and is it worth buying? I think it absolutely is. I'm going to explain why. I have not yet opened a single pack of Crowth Zenith, but since its release, I have picked up a couple boxes, and today we're finally going to crack into them so I can share my first-hand impressions. I've got one of each of the Reggie collection boxes, 2 Pikachu VMAX boxes, 1 Morpeko V-Union box, and 1 of each of the Shiny Zacian and Shiny Zamazenta boxes. For today's set review, though, I'm going to crack into the Reggie boxes and the 2 Pikachu VMAX boxes. Now, let's rip into them, play the montage. We've ripped open the boxes. Now let's see what we got. You have a lot of packs out of those 4 boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 packs that we're gonna be able to rip into together. So let's get started. But before we get into opening the packs, I do want to talk about 2 of the promos that came from those boxes, specifically the Pikachu VMAX Special Collection boxes, because they're actually really, really cool cards that may be slept on a little bit by people who don't know where they come from. So starting with the Pikachu VMAX card itself, this card was actually released as a Koro Koro promo in Japan. This was a very popular magazine set all about manga and anime, and they've released many famous promo cards over the years, and they continue to collaborate with Pokemon in order to continue to do so. This being one of those. Now, this one in particular is designed by Akira Agawa, one of my absolute favorite illustrators in the hobby right now. So it's a really cool one to finally see in English. I have a couple Japanese copies, and I absolutely love this Chonkachu. Maybe one of my favorite of the VMAX Pikachu variations. But that's not all. In a continued collaboration with Koro Koro Comics, that's where this Pikachu V comes from, which is absolutely adorable. It was released alongside a EVV, also illustrated by the same illustrator, Yuaribi, and done in this really cute, playful style. But this Pikachu V was only available also via Koro Koro, but via a promotion where they released a special starter deck in the style of the Pokemon 100 starter decks released in Japan. I think 100,000 of these were produced, so the Japanese card is sort of constrained with respect to supply. That's obviously a huge number, but it is kind of difficult to get your hands on one of those Koro Koro starter deck boxes that comes with this Pikachu V and the EVV. So with this Pikachu V, you get it in these boxes, super easy to get, really cute card. Definitely recommend you check it out. All right, it's time to rip into our packs.
This is it, our first packs of Crowth Zenith, my first packs ever for this set. Let's see what we can find. Starting right off in the first pack, we do get a Hatterene V. The Hatterene V is a cool card. It actually is one of the few newer cards in this set. For those who may know, the V-Star Universe set that Crown Zenith is based off of was mostly reprints of highly playable and exceptional cards for both players and collectors. Hatterene V, however, is one of the few new ones. It also has this beautiful illustration by Kawayu, which I'm a really big fan of. Moving on to our second pack already. We're going to be ripping through these really fast unless we can find some good hits in them. And while we do, we're also going to talk a little bit about this set in general and what makes it great. There are a number of qualities of this set that I really, really like, not the least of which are the illustration rare cards like this beautiful Deoxys that we've just pulled. The illustration rares are special art versions of cards that are otherwise in the set or have been out in the Sword and Shield era. This Deoxys is a very interesting one because it is, as you may recognize, a Fusion Strike and Single Strike and Rapid Strike Pokemon all in one. It didn't see a ton of play, but that actually gives it a ton of diversity and a lot of decks that it could have played in, and it's really cool to see it in this set. There we have a Soul Rock, which is a really cool card, and another amazing illustration rare here is the Bibarel. Now, the Bibarel is an incredibly powerful card that played a really big role in the competitive meta during the tail end of the Sword and Shield era. In fact, in the 2022 Worlds, the grand finals were between two mirrored decks, but one of them played the Bibarel, and that was the player that actually won. And it was commonly commentated on that the consistency the Bibarel provided because of its Industrious Incisors ability was what allowed that deck to pull ahead of its opponent and gave him more consistency and allowed him to succeed in the grand finals of the World Championships Pokemon TCG. Very, very cool. I love this illustration rare version. It's absolutely adorable and features a brand new illustrator who first started doing set cards in this set. Also very cool. And what I think really elevates this set because of the illustration rares is the diversity of hits and the excitement that you actually get from opening it. As you've seen, we've already pulled some incredible cards, including this Absol that we've just pulled. And I think sets that have done this have always had a strong appeal to collectors and investors. Ideally, with any kind of set, you really want people to desire opening them. Crowth Zenith, being pretty widely available, is relatively affordable, but gives you the excitement of pulling all of these cool and interesting cards. Not just the illustration rares, but also just some of the rare cards that they've injected into the set. I love that it is ultimately really a repackaging for the most part of a Japanese set that was already incredible. V-Star Universe, I think one of the best sets Pokemon Company has ever made. And Crown Zenith doesn't really do much to that core set, with some exceptions. It has pulled some really key cards for other packages. I think most notably, the Charizard UPC consisted of two separate Charizards that would otherwise be in this set that were instead pulled to be put into their own standalone products. But that's a really cool product in and of itself, and it's made those beautiful Charizard cards really widely available to all kinds of collectors, which I think is maybe ultimately good. I would probably prefer to still see it in this set, but that's just me. There's still an incredible number of cards left over in this set that people can pull and enjoy. So I think that's a really strong quality of this set, and one that can be slept on a little bit because of how much was printed and how easy it was to get your hands on it for months and months and months.
And there we go. All right. Oh, I'm so glad we got to pull this. This I don't think has turned out to be a super rare card, but oh, wow. It's absolutely beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. Uribi just doing an incredible job. And this card is something actually really, really special, in my opinion. I'm so glad we pulled it. Number 160 out of 159. So this card was released with the Precious Collectors collection in Japan. So it's actually a made-to-order box, but it was quite expensive. I think it was $175 approximately at retail. You could sign up, anyone could sign up to buy it. They made one box for everyone who ordered it, and everyone got one. And I was able to get one as well in Japanese. But the box is kind of rare and special because of that release approach. So I haven't actually opened it, which means I've never seen this artwork in person. And even though I have a much stronger preference for the silver borders and just the printing quality of Japanese cards, this is still absolutely beautiful. What I love about this card is that I started playing the Pokemon TCG during the Sword and Shield era, and what this card does is actually illustrates a bunch of the most impactful and important card types and Pokemon from the TCG during the Sword and Shield era, which I think makes it a beautiful summary of the era, especially for those who play. The Pikachu just broadly represents Pokemon in general. There wasn't really a meta Pikachu card through the Sword and Shield era, but we have Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX, which is incredibly impactful. Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX, also incredibly impactful. Two cards that completely dominated the meta for a while. Crobat V is one of the most important supporter cards from the Sword and Shield era, being released in Darkness Ablaze. Zacian V was one of the most dominant attackers from the time the card was released in the Sword and Shield set until now. It was always popped up. It's always been really powerful, really dangerous, and used in a lot of decks that either completely centered around that card being the primary attacker. If we look at like ADP, with Arceus Dialga and Palkia Tag Team GX would then feature Zacian V as its primary attacker, or there were just decks that were just Zacian V, usually with one Zamazenta V thrown in the mix. So I love that it's featured on this card. And then lastly, we have the Inteleon because of the impact of the Shady Dealings Inteleon line played as supporter cards in the era. The only exception to this one, and one that I think is really funny, is the inclusion of the Hisuian Zoroark. Hisuian Zoroark V-Star was released after this card came out, or at least certainly after this card was designed. And it's clear somebody thought, or many people thought, it was going to be a very powerful and meta-defining card within the Sword and Shield era, and it just never did. So I love that there was some anticipation reflected in the artwork when it was commissioned and made, and it didn't quite realize.
As we head into our last couple packs, I did want to talk about the very unique release schedule for Crown Zenith. The original Crown Zenith products were released on the 20th of January in 2023, but they continued to trickle out new types of collection boxes and tins and other products over the course of many months, with the last product, the Crown Zenith Premium Figure Collections featuring Shiny Zacian and Shiny Zamazenta, didn't come out until May 5th, 2023. So over the course of 4 or 5 months, we saw more and more Crown Zenith product hit the market, and this was why it was so widely available and easy to get your hands on at retail. This, I think, was a huge strength for the product because the hype for a special set like this was just so strong at release, and they did their best to satisfy it. It sold out really quickly initially, but then we started moving into the Scarlet and Violet era and released more and more sets, and the hype kind of fades away. And ultimately, a couple months later, with new product continually being manufactured and released, it became very easy to get your hands on these products and ultimately satisfy that itch. Take a quick look here at that Radiant Charjabug. Quite cute, actually. Another one of the unique cards from this set. But I do think that release cycle is really unique. We haven't seen waves of product released over such a long time frame to a Pokemon set before, and the way that affected the market is nothing to laugh at. It is a substantial factor in quality of this set. One of the interesting side effects of that is some of the original products, like just the base ETBs, were actually kind of hard to get. So if you wanted to rip packs for this product, you could find lots of different types of boxes that you could get and get access to the packs like I am here. But the ETBs were a little bit more scarce and went out of stock a little bit faster than you might expect. You start to see prices moving up on that product a little bit sooner than maybe otherwise expected given the availability. But as a collector who just wants to rip packs, and as an investor, there's lots of ways to get your hands on these products and lots that you could do with them. So I think it's a very cool, very interesting set, and one that I'm really happy to finally rip into.
Look, I'll admit it, that wasn't the best opening of Crown Zenith we could have had. There are so many incredible hits that we just didn't come across. But even despite that, it was an absolute blast to open, and I think that's the strength of the product. As a special set with the illustration rare subset, Crown Zenith really does a lot to the opening experience. There's so many amazing cards to pull with incredible art, and they come very frequently. The hit rates are high, and the quality of the hits is also high.
On top of that, the widespread availability of the product because of the long release cycle means that it's been easy for people to get their hands on the product. And when it's easy to get your hands on it, it's so much more desirable to open. You start to build an actual relationship with the product. You get the experience of the hits, you get to see the cards firsthand. And I think that establishes much longer term, more nostalgic mindset towards the product. A lot of the product has done okay so far, but it is still a new set, having only just passed the period where the last products came out. Some of the first products, like the ETBs, may stand to do well long term. Certainly as a collector, I've got at least one sealed ETB in my collection. It's in the display behind me, and I think it's really cool. I'm definitely excited to hold on to that product and see how it does in the long term. Oh, and of course, if you like this video, please give me the like and subscribe. It means the world. And beyond that, we've got more Crowth Zenith to actually open. These boxes will be opened on my Instagram, so give me a follow at Pokemon Buyers Club. We'll see you there. My name's Gray, and welcome to the Pokemon Buyers Club. Pew pew! Oh.